Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Today's a big one. We'll be looking at some of my oldest, Mari0 map packs from that aren't New Super Mario World this time. I've made a whole bunch of stuff over the years. All sorts of interesting concepts and a bunch of unreleased stuff that we're going to look at today. Before we get started, I really want to give huge shout-outs to Apple and Childebert for subscribing. Childebert especially subscribing for the next 6 months. Holy shit, thank you so much. Y'all are so nice to me. Thanks for showing up consistently and being so excited for these things. I'm real blessed. Y'all are so sweet. Before we get started, I wanted to give a progress update on something. So a few months ago, I mentioned that I had a highlights video I was working on for the True Arena runs that I did for Kirby, if you'll remember those. I started it a few months ago, didn't touch it, and a couple weeks ago I finally started to pick it up again. And I'm really excited about how it's turning out, but it's also a huge challenge. Like, I'm trying to tell a story with this video, the story of how I was, like, growing as a player throughout the stream, and each individual run is its own little story, and each day is its own story, and it's like, it's getting a little complicated and hard to cut down into a video that's digestible. I was aiming for about half an hour. The video is currently over an hour. I don't think I'm gonna make it to my target, but the video as is pretty good. I'm just working on refining it so that it's really good, you know what I mean? There's a lot of consideration that's going into it for, like, whether certain individual through lines should exist, how much I should focus on individual, like, plot threads, and how many times each boss shows up. Like, I was really struggling with the rampaging doomers, if you remember, and because of that, I noticed that they ended up in the highlights a good dozen times, and that's maybe too much. So, lots of work still needs to be done there, but I think by the time it's done, it should be really good. It's still gonna take a little while, though, because it's just such a huge video. It's a challenge to put together. I don't know how to say it more without talking in circles again. It's been a huge challenge. It's one of the hardest highlights videos I've ever had to put together, and at the same time, I'm very excited about how it's turning out. So, expect it sometime in the next, I don't know, month. And then, I really want to get it off my plate because I feel like a lot of streams this year have been highlights worthy. I've wanted to go back and look at them and, evaluate whether they'd be worth cutting down a highlights video for, but I've just been, you know, bogged down with this one. So the sooner I can get it out the door, the better it'll be for everyone. Alright, did I have anything else I wanted to talk about? Maybe a little intro for the Mari0 stuff. So, let's talk about that for a bit. Mari0 came out in 2012. It's gotten kind of a second wind recently in, like, 2020 or so, when a popular mod of it took off, because it had Android support and added a whole bunch of stuff from Mario Maker and all this other stuff, but, a lot of the early history from, like, 2012 is still buried on forums and stuff, where people can't, you know, they can find it, but it's kind of hard to dig for. So, 2020 and 2021 were the big years. Yeah, that sounds about right. Thank you, Britton. So I kind of wanted to take my own stuff and put, at least, because I don't know how I could be the Mari0 historian that I want to be, but I wanted to at least take my own stuff and put it in a single place where anybody could find it. So that's kind of what the point of the stream is. We'll be looking back at how I grew as a level designer over the years, and what some of the concepts were and how unique they were. But a lot of these are going to be shorter in scope. This isn't going to be New Super Mario World. It's not going to be 3 hours to go through one map pack. We'll be going through these at a pretty steady clip, talking about what worked, what didn't, some unused stuff for each one. And there's one map pack that's too big for us to get to today. It's called Zeta. We will not be seeing Zeta today. That's going to be put on the shelf for another stream of its own. That one will be kind of on the scope of New Super Mario World, I think. But we're not going to look at it today. We're just going to look at everything else. Like, practically everything else. It depends on how much time I have. I have a list of notes here of what I want to play in which order, and half of them are for the original version of Mari0 1.6, half of them are all of the Mari0 Special Edition projects that got cancelled over the years, or just barely started. More a bunch of concepts than anything, but I still want to show as much of it as possible today, time permitting. Britton says it'll be cool to see what the Mari0 meta was like before my time. Yeah, hopefully this gives a good slice of that, what people were up to, and I know it's just me, but hopefully I can also give an idea of, like, what it was like to be in the scene at the time. So why don't we switch over to Mari0?